Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. On what I can only describe as a rather dull day today. However, as you can see, the olive season has now started here where I live. Got our neighbours, Spiro and also Yanni, the landlord. They're out busy doing the olives at the moment. Obviously, the olive harvest important too. That's Yanni driving past. Olive harvest important to the economy of the island. And also as well this year, olive, because of the bad weather in October, the price of olives is going up because a lot of the harvest was spoiled because obviously the heavy rains knocked the fruit off the trees a little bit too early for them to get their nets out and be able to gather it up. So again, price of olive oil, I think you're going to find this year is going to be at a premium. So anyway, there you go. Oh, and looking at the weather, can I just say thank you to Amanda? The weather is not looking good at the moment. She just sent me a little message this morning. She says, good morning, Ginge. Tuesday's weather. Fog has descended over the island. Not in this area at the moment, but it is cloudy and it is gloomy looking. There is a yellow alert for winds place, so it looks like we've got a few high winds on the way. It will be mainly cloudy with sunshine. Temperatures 22 degrees, but it'll feel like 24. So have a great day. Thank you for that, Amanda. And she says morning hunt as well. Big shout out to Andrew the Fridge Watkins as well in Wales. And Gab Kitchen, ex-Raf Reg buddy, who's tuning in at the moment as well. Nice to see you looking in as well, Gab. Right, let's quickly turn round the camera just to say that today's news, I'm going to warn you now, is a bit COVID heavy. There's been a lot going on within the last 24 hours here in Greece, and some of it not very good at the moment as well. Right, so COVID in the last 24 hours. COVID has hit its latest record. Yep, 7,335 new cases of the virus have been detected in the last 24 hours. That's up on the day before where we had 4,307, and it did look like that things were starting to tail off, but all of a sudden we've had another big spike. And as Jane pointed out, the numbers yesterday were from over the weekend, where we normally do see a drop in numbers simply because there's not always a lot of testing going on over the weekend. Anyway, at the moment, there's been 17 new cases being identified at checks into the country. That is also up on the day before, where we had 11. Now, according to the national stats at the moment, Lefkada, they've had 12 new infections. That was up on the 11 on the previous day. Their island is still in the local Greek analysis at green. In Corfu, they've had quite a rise in infections. Last time I reported to you, 55 new infections there. That is up to 90 new infections. That island is in the red at the moment. The case of Kefalonia, Kefalonia has also seen a rise as well. They were 9 on my last report. They have had 13 new infections. That island at the moment is in amber. And as for Zakynthos, we've actually had a drop in infections, believe it or not. We were 17 infections on the previous report. We are now 10 new infections here on the island, and we are still in the red though. So again, that is the situation. I've also had an update on vaccine uptake here on Zakynthos as well. That was published yesterday on the .gr.gov site. Vaccination rates, first dose, 65% of the population here has had the first dose of the vaccine. Fully vaccinated, 63% or 63.33% have had the vaccine. At the moment, they're saying that the epidemic's trending here at the moment is increasing. That's what the officials are saying. Can I just say a quick hello to DJ Ian Thompson, who's looking in at the moment from Birmingham. I saw your message yesterday, mate. I know you're in hospital, or you were in hospital. I'm not sure if you're in hospital today, but a big shout out to you who's tuning in at the moment. Also as well, when it comes to new deaths, there's been 65 new deaths. That's up on the previous report where we had 52. And I've also got to mention as well, we've had another death here on the island of Zakynthos from COVID. And I'll I'll give some more detail on that as I get closer to getting onto those figures. So at the moment, the death rate at the moment in Greece has gone up, 65 new deaths, up on 52 on the previous. That means total deaths now so far here in Greece since the pandemic started has been 16,295. And 95.4% of those people had underlying disease or were over the age of 70. Moving on then to critical cases. Critical cases have also crept up as well. Last report was 470 critical cases in ICUs across the country. The number now is 477. There is 279 males in ICUs, 198 females. The average age of those people in ICUs at the moment is 65 years of age. 81.3% have underlying health issues or are over the age of 70. Regarding critical patients, 402 of that 477 are unvaccinated or partially vaccinated, and 75 are fully vaccinated. So those are the COVID stats for today. And today's news then, the top story here on Zakynthos at the moment is that a 77-year-old man died in the ICU of the Zakynthos hospital where he was being treated for coronavirus. Now, the man was infected with the deadly virus on the 8th of October 2021. He was admitted to the COVID clinic on the 25th of October when his health condition started to deteriorate, resulting in his incubation. Despite efforts of the doctors and nurses of the ICU in Zakynthos, the 72-year-old passed away yesterday at approximately about 3:53 on the Monday morning. Anyway, finally, according to sources from the Zakynthos hospital, he was unvaccinated and had no underlying health conditions. So once again, our condolences to the family for their loss at this time. That now brings the death toll here this month in Zakynthos to 2 people passing, 2 men. The first person who passed away, no detail as to the age of that person, but obviously with this second passing, we do know that the person was a 72-year-old man. Also, interestingly, then, the police have been out and about doing their checks to make sure that COVID measures are being actually implemented. And we're already getting the feedback from the checks that have been taking place in the Ionian Islands. Now, in 2 different cases in Zakynthos, in the town of Zakynthos, a restaurant and cafe snack bar had administrative fines of €5,000 placed on them with a 15-day closure of business because they weren't checking customers' certificates when they were coming into their locations. And they were also imposing €300 fines on customers that were in those locations who didn't have the relative paperwork. So once again, please remember, I know yesterday, I was out in town yesterday and speaking to some business owners. They said the police have been popping in and out quite regularly around where they are in town. Also, one of the cafes that I went into yesterday, I was checked. I was asked to present my papers, and they scan your papers just to let you know with an app so that they can check, one, that they're real, and obviously, again, to track where people are going and who they're mixing with. So once again, please be aware, the police are out and about, and they are very hot on doing people at the moment. Anyway, in a case in Corfu, again, a fine of €5,000 was also given out, and 15-day closures for customers from a bar in that location. Also, €300 was imposed on people who didn't have certificates who were in those businesses as well. Now, in a restaurant in Macardo, the little island here, they also had administrative fines given out in those locations. They were imposed because, again, they had too many people in their location for the size of the location. So obviously they weren't practicing social distancing. So they said that over the same period of their checks, There was 1 violation in Lefkada. There were 7 violations in Corfu, and that was for people and customers not wearing masks while in venues. Once again, just to remind you, you are supposed to be wearing your mask when you go into the venue and when you sit down, and you remove your mask when obviously you come to eat or drink. All right, so they are being quite hot on that in certain locations. Been no reports of people being picked up for that in Zakynthos, but definitely for not having your paperwork to say you've been vaccinated, or like me, you have your certificate of disease, as it is called, to show you've had COVID and you've got over it and you are still clean, or that you haven't had a PCR test if you're unvaccinated and gone into a public establishment. So once again, just bear that in mind. The police are still pretty hot out and about. With the new COVID infections breaking one record after another, that's the language of the press, not mine. The president of the Greece's National Vaccination Committee on Monday urged pregnant women and those breastfeeding to get vaccinated against COVID-19 to avoid the risks for them and their babies. Anyway, she said to put themselves and the baby at risk, vaccines are recommended for pregnant women, nursing mothers and mothers planning to have children. Now, this was Maria Theodou. She said at the daily briefing on the pandemic, noting that there is no indication that vaccines affect infertility. Theodou also said that pregnant women with COVID have an increased risk of premature birth and other health issues, while emphasizing that they themselves are at the same time as people with underlying health problems, they have a risk. Anyway, I was also reminded of an article that came out last Wednesday from New Zealand, where New Zealand researchers Elsa Brock and Simon Thornley had published a peer-reviewed paper in a scientific public health policy and the law which reanalyzes a key CDC study showing that the mRNA vaccines are safe during pregnancy, and found that actually the rate of miscarriage before 20 weeks gestation following the mRNA exposure was at least 81.9%, a massive 7-fold increase over the expected background rate of 11.3%. Now, they have actually called in that location to halt COVID-19 vaccines for pregnant women. And this is what they're talking about in New Zealand. And New Zealand, if everybody is following what's been going on, has probably been one of the countries that has been so bitten into COVID and basically over the top with their approach to how COVID is to be tackled. I think there might be some credence to be looked in that report that came out there. Me personally, it's the right of choice. I think mothers should themselves weigh up what they feel themselves is right for them and maybe for their child as well. I'm not saying don't get vaccinated. I'm just saying just think very, very carefully as to whether you want the vaccine or whether you are okay to go on without the vaccine. And again, that will come down to the individual's choice and that of the child that they have in their care and doing the best for their child. So again, I'm not going to harp on about this because again, we'll see how this will play out and people that we know how they may approach it as well. Anyway, the Greek government now is working on a plan to reschedule the payment of the cheap state loans that were issued during the lockdown, known as the deposit to be returned, so to increase pressure so as to ease the pressure, on mainly small and medium-sized businesses that are unable to meet their obligations, not only as a result of the ongoing health crisis, but because of the energy hike as well. Just like the UK, we've had a big hike in energy prices on electricity, etc. We had a 30% increase on electricity here. So again, that is another burden that businesses were hoping wasn't going to occur, but it has occurred. So anyway, the Finance Ministry now is seeking solutions to support the market with measures that will have a minor impact on the budget, such as those announced last month regarding the return of the special consumption tax on oil of some 220,000 farmers in 2022, which totaled 50 million euros. So basically, farmers got a special dispensation and got their oil money returned. Now, when they talk about their oil money, what they're talking about there is normally in regards heating, where basically you get special prices for your heating oil, which are a lot lower than the normal what you would pay at the petrol station, because that's just another source of revenue. And also with the farmers as well, like farmers in the UK, they also get their special lower priced heating oils as well, because of their industrial vehicles and stuff that they have to drive around, tractors, etc., to obviously be able to farm the lands. Anyway, the delay in the repayment to the state loans will particularly particularly inflict no harm to the state coffers. The amount the government expected to collect comes in at around about 3 billion euros, a large share of which is projected to be returned by the end of the year, mainly from large enterprises in the tourism sector. And once again, just a quick reminder, during the summer, this money was being given out to help businesses survive, on the understanding what they didn't use could be returned. They weren't grants, they were loans. And so therefore, if you didn't need the money, you could return it back again. But now at the moment, if you've spent the money and you've got to start giving it back, they're giving you more time in which to pay back that crisis loan, as it were, to keep your business up and running. It'll be interesting to see how many people do actually start to return the money early, as opposed to those that will basically go for another repayment plan to obviously make it easier on their bottom line, so that they can obviously survive through until the beginning of the season next year. So again, the Greek government seems to be giving with one hand, taking away with the other, trying to ease some of the situations for businesses. However, one thing is for sure, I think Mitsotakis has learned that lockdowns don't work, closing economies down don't work, although at the moment with the measures that are in place, you can still get to the shops, you can still buy stuff, but it's just awkward, shall we say, as long as you present your papers and you're allowed in. And also businesses are looking over their shoulders to make sure that they don't get a visit from the authorities if they seem to be not doing what they're being told to do. Right, and finally then, a nice little bit of happy news, all right? It seems Austrian Airlines has announced their flight program from Vienna for 2022, which contains several flights to the Ionian Islands. And those flights include Zakynthos, where we're looking at 4 flights a week, to Corfu, where they're looking at 2 flights a week, and to Kefalonia, they're looking at only 1 flight a week during the summer. Now, Zante, from May the 20th, there's going to be 3 flights a week, every Tuesday and Friday, if you want to start booking those from Austria. While from July the 5th, they're going to put another flight on, which will then bring the total up to, on a Tuesday that'll bring the total up to 4 flights in that season. So again, it looks like we could expect to see more Austrians here on the island next year in 2022, as they're having an increase in flights to the island. So that's a bit of a positive to look forward to. Right, got to say once again a quick hello to Ian Thompson, DJ Ian Thompson, good old buddy of mine, used to work out here years ago. He's also one of the co-presenters on beatsradio.co.uk, does a dance related show as well. I can't remember the nights you're on. I think you're on after me, aren't you, on a Friday, fella? But anyway, he's in hospital at the moment. Anyway, I hope you're all right, fella. I know you've been through the mires, caught COVID, and obviously had to have an operation to have his leg removed last year. Hoping that you're still fighting, mate, and it sounds like you've been through the wars. You really have been. And a big shout out to all the nurses in the hospital where you are in Birmingham as well, and hope they're looking after you nicely as well. Right, let's have a look. Any other little messages from anybody else? Oh yeah, Teresa Gregory. See Teresa Gregory? Teresa, I've lost her now. Oh, Teresa Ann Huggett is watching. Nice to see you. She says, good morning, Ginge. How are you doing? I'm doing well. Thank you, my lovely. And that's about it at the moment. And also, Sid James is tuning in as well. Lovely to see you tuning in, Sid. I hope you were tuning in last night to the Northern Soul Show that was going out yesterday on beachradio.co.uk. Just to let you know that show will go up online today onto Mixcloud. And I was quite surprised that show from last week on Mixcloud has still been going up in the charts. So I'm quite chuffed about that. So anyway, the show from yesterday had a bit of a Guy Fawkes feel to it as well. So anyway, I shall be posting that show online later in the day. Once again, if you're watching this broadcast on YouTube, can I just remind you to like and subscribe to the channel? I'm trying to make that channel grow. It really, I know most people are watching on either Facebook, Twitter, or on LinkedIn. But it would be nice to get a few more people also just subscribing to the YouTube channel as well, just to make its numbers grow. The YouTube channel is really where I just store all the previous broadcasts because they're conveniently placed, so I can go back and cross-reference anything that's said in my programs. And obviously, it's just a good place to go back and visit old news as well, just to see how things have changed, progressed, or stayed the same. So anyway, thanks for that. Big shout out to Julie Allen as well, who's watching. Nice to have you tuning in, my darling. That's it from me for today. I shall keep my ear to the ground. If I hear of anything, I will let you know. And once again, have a great time where you are, and I will catch you tomorrow. Ta-ra.